I want to remind you that no matter where you are, you're right on time. You are never too late, ever, to embrace the finances and to be able to heal from any pain that you've experienced. Our God is a healer and He is always for you and He will never leave or forsake you. And so, number one, embrace where you are and realize it's a lie of the enemy that says you're too late, you're too old, you're too dumb, you're not going to get this. Those are all attacks from the enemy.
Welcome to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, a place where Christian single women aged 50 plus connect. I am your host, Janine Jordan, a Christian confidence coach and leadership mentor in Alberta, Canada.
And I'm your co-host, Ellie McCormick, a Christian longevity coach and mentor in the USA. Being single women over 50, we know what it's like to feel overlooked, to have unrealized dreams, to experience the challenges of singlehood, and to be concerned about what our future will look like. We couldn't find anything online for single Christian women over 50, so we created Jesus People Sisterhood just for you, a place where sisters encourage and empower one another through the last third of life, because you are a treasure trove of wisdom and of exceedingly great value. This is an authentic community, a supportive family, with other women on the same journey where Jesus is the center of it all. Here you will find real talk, real community, and real sisters.
Join us as we discuss building relationships, whole health, and growing spiritually. We'll review helpful books and articles, chat with guest speakers, share success stories, and have some laughs along the way. So grab your favorite beverage and we'll get started. Today, we send a big shout out to our sisters in Alberta, Canada, and England, UK. Thank you for listening. We're so glad that sisters from around the world are listening to the podcast and enjoying it. And here's a review from Bader2225, who writes, "Sweet and encouraging. Ellie and Janine have so much to share that's relevant and helpful. This podcast brings hope to an overlooked but important group of people. Highly recommend." Thank you, Vader2225, for your positive review. And we are so pleased you find the podcast valuable. If you would like your review read on one of the episodes, please leave us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. It will only take you a minute, and it raises the podcast in the rankings so that other sisters can find us too.
Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, the only podcast specifically for single Christian women over 50. In today's Part 2 episode, we'll continue our discussion on navigating the emotional side of finances with our guest, Tammy Price. If you did not listen to Part 1 of our interview, please go back and listen to the previous episode first. Tammy Price is a certified life coach with over 20 years of experience in debt collection and financial coaching. Specializing in helping 50-plus single women, she guides them toward financial independence by tackling debt, improving credit, and setting healthy money habits. Having personally paid off $486,000 in debt, Tammy combines practical strategies with a deep understanding of the emotional side of money management. Tune in for real-life advice, success stories, and empowering insights to help you take control of your financial future one step at a time. Let's pick up now with Part 2 of our interview with Tammy Price on navigating the emotional side of finances.
You talked about reconciling the feelings of it's too late and, managing the guilt around that. We loved that. Just go forward. Do not dwell in that place, right? So
You don't have to.
Right. Okay, so how do I shift from a negative or closed off mindset on this topic to one that is more open? Do you have anything else to say there? I think what you said was wonderful, but is there anything you want to add?
Yes. Rather than, and I love this question so much, rather than beating ourselves up, because it's so easy to do. Like I teach budget, I teach debt, like, but I still have business debt. So I could sit there and I could beat myself up over it. And I could say, oh, I suck. I shouldn't be talking about this, right? Or I could say, wait a minute, I have a level that I've gotten to. I've paid off over $480,000 worth of debt, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. And I can still equip people to be able to take a step forward. And how we step out of the negative is we simply allow and give ourselves permission to process the feelings. All too often, we try to numb them out. We make ourselves busy. We distract ourselves. There are so many people I know that will just scroll on social media or binge watch TV to escape the feeling rather than sit with the feeling and realize the feelings aren't going to kill you. They are simply there as a magnifying glass to highlight something is not quite in alignment. God never called us to walk in condemnation. He never called us to walk in shame or guilt or to beat ourselves up. And if we focus on guilt, then we're focused in an area where God says, no, 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 no. Jesus went to the cross so you could be freed of guilt. The moment you feel it, you can come to me and repent, and I wash that away. I don't even remind you of your mistakes. As far as the east is from the west, I remember your sins no more. And if we choose, he gave us free will. He's such a good daddy. But we could choose to continue carrying the shame blanket and the guilt, even though he said you don't have to. We do. Human nature, hello, he knows us so well, all right? So we can keep repenting and we can keep digging in going, ooh, why am I still emotionally spending? Instead of beating ourselves up going, dang it, I bought the shoes, I didn't need them. What if we said instead, ooh, what what is the emotion I'm after in buying these shoes? Am I trying to numb something out or evoke a certain feeling? And if we can start just giving ourselves permission to get curious, you're going to find that the negative emotions no longer rule you because, like a child, you're getting curious about them. Children don't naturally, when you, when a child is full of emotion, they tend to ask a lot of questions depending on the kid and depending on the upbringing. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I saw mommy and daddy upset, I thought it was 1,000 question hour. Why are you upset? What's going on? Why are you guys raising your voice? Like, help me understand this. I don't get this, right? And if we can come with childlike approach to our own emotions, there's something really freeing and empowering in that. Then we can process the emotion. And if you're not, yeah, there's a lot of people listening who are going to say, yeah, I am so out of touch with my emotions, I don't even know where to begin. And to you, I see you. You're hearing what I'm saying. And what I would say is, okay, there are free resources out there that can show you how to start getting in touch with the emotional side of it. Because feelings, we feel something in our body. We will have an emotional response to what we are feeling. And from that emotional response, we do something. But it all stemmed from a thought we were having. And it happens within milliseconds. It's so fast. It's this cycle that happens. And so when we can slow it down and become aware of, ooh, you know what? I'm going to pick a real example here. I love sushi. Your girl loves sushi. And so for me, it's very easy when I'm feeling whatever to go and get sushi. Now, number one, that's a money expense and it's also emotional eating. So what I learned to do is I said, ooh, why am I craving sushi? Am I really hungry? Or what are the feelings and memories I have when I think of sushi? Well, for me, my first memory of having it was being around friends, having a great time. So often now when I am in the like feeling, oh, I really want sushi, I could sit there and go, ooh, am I feeling lonely? It's okay to feel lonely. God even said we would feel lonely. So what could I do instead of caving into that emotional eating or emotional spending? Oh, I could text a friend. That would fulfill me not feeling lonely. Oh, I could take my loneliness and talk to God. Oh, I could just kind of journal and process it out. It's okay. There's no shame in how you're feeling and what you're feeling. And so when we can give ourselves permission to embrace and even hug the emotions, because God gave us all the emotions, He gave them all to us. We're made in His image. And so when we give ourselves permission, instead of saying, well, this is a good feeling, this is a bad feeling, what if we could just call them all feelings that are simply indicators that are trying to tell us something, like a thermometer? We read them like a thermometer. The thermometer says the room is too hot. The thermometer says the room is too cold. That's it. Sadness says, I want to process something a little bit more, but I'm not quite sure how. Anger says, well, there's been an encroachment on my boundaries. You think about when you're driving and somebody cuts you off, right? Somebody encroached on my boundary. They cut me off, right? And people will respond to that different ways. So, like, the emotions are simply there to highlight something to us: joy, happiness, all the things.
Could you make
Embrace the emotions.
could you make a suggestion or advice, as I've experienced this, and I'm sure there's other people, is that you don't feel good about your finances. And so just even thinking about doing it, doing the checkbook, and I make myself do it, thank God. But I know there's a lot of women who just can't face it because it just makes them sick and they don't want to deal with it. Do you have any advice of how to get over that? Because obviously it's not going to get better if you just ignore it.
Yes, I love this. So, my suggestion for this is, number one, we get to acknowledge it. We get to celebrate even the level of awareness we have of, this makes me feel like crap. You know what I mean? Like, even just acknowledge it and say, okay, I'm human, I'm in my emotions, and it's okay. The second thing we do is, if we can either get ourselves in a safe space to be able to process through things, right? Because, like, as a life coach, I know how the mind works. I know how the emotions work. And so when we don't have those tools, what do we do then? Well, there's a couple things we can do. Number one, we raise awareness around what we're really feeling. Number two, I love to ask this question. So if you're taking notes, I'm going to repeat this 2 times for you. Okay. The question is what I'm feeling 100% true? And what I mean by that is, if someone who's a multimillionaire and someone who is broke both look at a bank statement and saw $5 in there. Well, 100% truth is 100 people could look at that bank statement and say, yeah, there's $5 in there. Now, that multimillionaire is going to have different thoughts about there being $5 in there, and that broke person is going to have different thoughts about there being $5 in there. Those thoughts, now let's say that bank statement is theirs. That multimillionaire, he's going to feel a certain way about that. And that person who is barely getting by, they're going to feel a certain way about that. From those feelings, they're going to take a certain action. That multimillionaire, he may be saying, oh, I've been embezzled. I'm on the phone with my attorney. Or, what the heck happened here? I gotta go replenish this. I gotta go see what happened. That broke person will, shoot, they may be going to their favorite fast food restaurant and celebrating with $2 tacos. So they still have $3 left, right? If they, you know what I mean? And so they're both going to have different responses. But what we look at is, okay, well, what is 100% factual? What am I making this situation mean about me? So again, what is 100% factual? What am I making this situation mean about me? And with money, oftentimes the thought can come up of, ooh, I'm not of value if I don't have X amount in my account. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough, right? And these are very valid thoughts to have. These are the most common thoughts to have. Then our next step is, well, what is the truth in this? What does God say about who I am? And if we're not in a position to even, like, it's one thing to know it in the head, but it's another to really feel it and resonate with it in your heart, to have a deep heart understanding of that. And so that's where it's like getting wise counsel, talking to people at church, getting into a community. If you're going through financial struggles, find a free community, pray and ask God, highlight to me, God, where is the space that I'm going to help or be helped receiving healing? I have a free community. And so it's like it's on Facebook and anyone can join, and there's tons of stuff in there to support people completely free. And so if we need to start somewhere, we get to start somewhere. And so when we think about those heavy emotions, we get to give ourselves permission, number one, to feel them. They're valid, they're showing us something. And then number two, okay, God, what is your truth in this? Because you've called your kids to be abundant. We're called to be your marketing program. That's what I say. If we're supposed to share the gospel, well, we could go around sharing it being broke, or we could go around sharing it being empowered and knowing that God has called us to a life of wealth in the richness of our relationships, in the richness of the abundance and the richness of the love that we can pour out. So we can then look at, okay, well, if finances aren't going quite right, where can I pull from in other areas of my life that are going really well? And what is the end outcome I want with finances? How do I want to feel in that? And what would I be feeling if I took actions toward that? And what could the actions be, right? So now we've taken our mind, we've taken the focus off the problem, and we've redirected it into solution-oriented thinking. Is that helpful?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Everything you
Absolutely.
shared, very helpful.
Very helpful. Okay, so do you have anything else, I guess, that you want to add for any of the discussion today? Is there any other end to tie up?
Yeah. I want to remind you that no matter where you are, you're right on time. You are never too late, ever, to embrace the finances and to be able to heal from any pain that you've experienced. Our God is a healer, and He is always for you, and He will never leave or forsake you. And so, number one, embrace where you are and realize it's a lie of the enemy that says you're too late, you're too old, you're too dumb, you're not going to get this. Those are all attacks from the enemy. We can just tell the clown to shut up and we can redirect our focus on God's promises for us. And remember that He's called us to be a body in Ephesians. That means you get to have other people who can come alongside you and encourage you in this area. You get to ask for wise counsel. You get to have people who can help you in the areas where you are attempting to learn. There are a lot of resources out there. I say before you decide on a resource, pray about it, because God will never misguide you. And so you get to feel peace about it. The other thing I want to say is for every single person listening, I do have a completely free journal that you can grab that will help you process the topics of worry and fear. And that link will be in the show notes.
Mhm. Yes.
And so I want you to take advantage of that. And I want you to take advantage, if you feel led, to join the free group called Mind Over Money, because we talk about this stuff. I have so many videos in there that are just there for free for you to consume and learn, and things for you to look at, things for you to ponder. And you can always message me too. Like, I really want to see people broken free of the guilt and the shame and the frustration and the overwhelm and the condemnation for being wherever they're at in their financial journey. That we were never called to walk in those things. And so I want to remind you, you're never too late. You're always on time. And God goes before you and He comes behind you. He already knew what decisions you would make, including the mistakes, and He's still not leaving your side. He's going to use those mistakes to help you create awareness, new relationships, other opportunities for healing. And it's a beautiful thing. And I am so proud of you for being here, for tuning into this podcast, for loving yourself enough to be able to hear this message and to choose actively to make a change. Wow.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that so much. So we usually ask our guests if they have anything specifically they want to share with single Christian women over 50.
Mm, yeah, I just keep hearing you are right on time. You're not going to run out of time. That's a lie from the enemy. He's already appointed you, God meaning. God has already appointed you the
Mhm.
number of days. He knows the days He's given you to get things done. Stay the course. Don't buy into busyness. Don't buy into distractions. Keep leaning on Him when you don't understand something. Ask Him, and He will provide safe spaces, mentors, resources. Anything that you could ever ask for, hope, or imagine also includes the solutions to the challenges you're walking through. You're never alone. He sees you in all of this. And if you have a desire to be with someone, He already sees that too. And you don't have to force it. You don't have to live in fear of, oh my gosh, what if I don't find that person? Because God already is refining that person for you in the waiting. So enjoy the waiting. Sit in that journey and embrace it, because we can't we don't want to rush what God has for us. We don't want to be introduced to that person before God has allowed them to become ready to be the person that they could be, to be in our lives, whether that is a love relationship or that is your teacher, your mentor, whoever, whatever kind of relationship it is, and not just dating relationship. I just feel led that we get to keep reminding ourselves we're right on time. God's timing is perfect. And if we keep leaning in and seeking God out in our next step, He is so faithful that He will always give us the next step in His perfect timing. And in the waiting, trust is built. In the waiting, faith is built. In the waiting, we can feed our hope instead of impatience. You got this, and you are resilient.
Okay. Wow. I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this. That's for sure. Very, very uplifting. So encouraging. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for being with us today. Could you share with us how our listeners can actually get in contact with you?
Yes, absolutely. If any of you are on Instagram, you can find me at The Resilient Tammy. If you're on Facebook, you can find me Resilient Life. You can also find me on resilientlife34@gmail.com. So resilientlife34@gmail.com if you want to email me. I do have my free group called Mind Over Money, and I am in there on the regular. Feel free to send a request to join that group. There will be a couple questions to answer to get you admitted, because I'm a mama bear and I want to make sure we keep any spam and riffraff out of there. So that's why I've set up questions, because I'm a mama bear. I got to protect the flock, you know? And so those are some ways that you can reach me. And definitely grab the free journal on the processing worry and fear. And I'm so grateful to have had this time to share with you and to encourage you and share some of what I know. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you again so much. It was fantastic.
Thanks so much, Tam.
Thanks for listening today, sisters. Please share any thoughts that resonated with you from today's podcast episode in our private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community. Start reaching out to other single women and create your local group of Jesus People Sisters. Please let us know about your group to add to our directory by contacting us at support@jesuspeoplesisterhood.com.
Have you had a good experience with a business? They've treated you honestly and helped you at a reasonable price? Please let us know. We would like to start a directory of JPS-friendly businesses. Let's care for one another.
That's all we have for today, sisters. Be blessed by Him who is able to protect you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of His glory, blameless and with great joy. Until next time. Hey, sister, before you go, thank you for listening. If you found value in today's podcast, the best way to say thank you is by leaving a 5-star written review at Apple Podcasts. That raises us in the rankings and helps other sisters find us too. And please tell a friend or post it on your social media. If you're a single Christian woman over 50, this podcast was created specifically for you. The Jesus People Sisterhood is your community to find support and friendship with other sisters who can understand. Be sure to follow us on your podcast app and join our free private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community.
Jesus People Sisterhood has also started a private Facebook group for housing and co-living opportunities. You can check that out at Jesus People Sisterhood Senior Housing. You can also find us on Facebook at Jesus People Sisterhood, and individually for Janine at riseupcoachingandconsulting.com and for Ellie at samaramountain.com. And ladies, this is the necessary disclaimer. Our podcast content is for informational purposes and does not constitute professional advice from mental health, medical, legal, financial, or other areas. The opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the hosts. It is our heart that this podcast will be a blessing to you. Together, let's build a powerful sisterhood with Jesus. Make a friend, add a sister, across the border and around the world.